Today, we're going to put some concerns at ease, I hope. And maybe we're going to find some knives that, well, fail a rather important test. What are we doing today? We are going to test locks, specifically when you put it in a spine whack test. Now, what are we talking about when we talk about a spine whack test? So what that means is that if the blade comes into contact quickly with a hard surface as sort of an impact, whether it's hitting it with a hammer or otherwise, whether it collapses in on itself. That's the test we want to make. Now, when it comes to folders, you should not be hitting the back of a blade with a hammer. Now, I have even done videos with this, but in general, you're not supposed to do that unless you're purposely trying to make it fail, which it will eventually. If you seriously want to baton or do anything with a folding knife, you should undo the lock, set it into your wood, and use it to create a small cut in, and then create a wedge and do it that way. That's the realistic way you're supposed to do it with a folding knife. So, in this video, we're going to try to simulate a single hit on the back of the spine. Pretty hard, actually. And this kind of came because there was comments in a lot of recent videos talking about how button locks fail the spine whack test. And when I watch those videos of people doing it, I notice they do the same thing. And this is what I'm talking about. So I'm setting it up like this, and you can actually see that cut right there? That was me being an idiot. So I'm not going to do that this time around. And so what people do is they go like this, right? Now this particular one, I'll even switch it around and I'll hit it really hard. Okay? They basically hit it multiple times without a reset. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually hit it pretty hard, and then we're going to close it, open the knife again to reset it in the proper position, and then we're going to hit it again. Nice and hard to see if they fail and actually close. If they are able to do that on a single whack, with one hit, then that would be considered a failure, and I would consider that an unsafe knife. So we're going to test all of these very quickly, so we better just go ahead and get to it, starting with all of these Civivis. So we have the Elementum 2. And even harder. Nope, no failure there. The Altus. I'm going to do it one more time. I don't think that was hard enough. I think that's going to be good. Let's do it one more time. I still feel like I could probably get it a little harder. I probably should create some sort of mechanism for this, but yeah. This one also passes, so well done. Now this is the one that kind of spawned the whole video concept. So people were saying that this did not perform the spine whack test. And now let's keep in mind that this is my particular version, right? And yours, mileage may vary. There might be some variance in the models. So let's go ahead and test this. Oh wait, I didn't even reset it. So that would have potentially caused a failure that would have been invalid. Nope. I would consider that a pass. Now, this is important. Notice that I had to reset it in between. If you don't do that, you're essentially could be in a semi-locked position after that first hit. And it really only has to survive the first hit to be considered safe, really. And there's actually plenty of locks out there where multiple hits in succession would cause lock failure. So that's kind of important. Now this is the one I think is most likely to fail because the detent is so soft. This is one of the first ones they came out with, and it didn't have the strongest button lockup. Now I've seen people actually cause this knife to fail. So let's go ahead and test it with the same constraints that we have created. Right? Close. Open. Close. Open. And I hit that one real nice and hard. Notice that it did not fail. So this is also a pass. So Civivi has all 4 of the button locks that I currently have with a passed test. So all of these are going to be safe, in my opinion, based on this particular set of 4. Now yours may not survive this test. It's worth testing yourself. Just make sure you don't have your hand anywhere near the blade. So notice that I have it set here and the blade can close. This is what happens when you're not paying attention, okay? So please don't do that. Now let's move on to Vosteed. So we have 3 knives from Vosteed. I have actually more button locks from them, but they're kind of put away at the moment. We'll start with the updated Raccoon. So this is the new iteration after they adjusted it slightly. The button lock is now a little bit stickier. And I will tell you, because I've already tested this, I did not get it to fail when I tested the knife when I first got it out of the box. So let's go ahead and see how much they've improved this knife. Okay. It's a pretty hard whack. One more. Nope. No failure on the Raccoon. That's good. Now we have the Firebird, I want to call it. I think it's either the I always mix it up. It's either Firebird or Thunderbird. So let's try this one. Nope. Not on the first whack. That was not very sharp. We'll probably do a 4th one. Oop. We had a failure. Interesting. Okay. Let's try it. Let's try it one more time. Okay. That's 2 failures in a row. Now one more. Okay, let me open it all the way. That one doesn't count because I did it twice. That one didn't. Let's do it one more time. Yeah, I can feel it slipping even when I just touch it to the surface. Okay, so inconclusive. We're going to have to try that as a separate video. But so far, that is the only one it really feels like there might be a problem. Now let's go ahead and go into the, this is the Corgi. Also from Vosteed, a later design. In fact, this is one of their earlier ones. It came out, I think, even before the Raccoon. So we'll start with the Corgi. We do have a lock failure on that one for the first one. Another lock failure. And a 3rd lock failure. So I don't think this is inconclusive. Unfortunately, the Corgi does fail this test. So that's something they're going to have to work on. Okay, so we're learning something important here. Now, here's the fun part. We're going to do CJRB. Now, I think more than any other knife brand, there's something different about this particular set of button locks. Why is it so different? Well, well, that's a little too bright. Let me show you something. If you look behind, let's see if I can get it so you can see it. If you actually look, hold on, whoa, I'm gonna have to turn this light off. It's just too bright. Oh, I had it right at the last second, but that's fine. So if you look, holy moly, all right, there we go. We can get it to focus this time. There we go. Okay, notice that the button cutout is a full 90 degrees on the edge. Basically, the button sits itself in and it's almost 90 degrees to the edge. All the other knives, for the most part, have an angled area where the button sits, which allows the button to basically slip out. Now that keeps it and makes it nice and smooth, but I would imagine that none of these are going to fail specifically because of that shelf. And it doesn't seem to impact how smooth these knives actually are. All of these are actually very good on the action. So let's go ahead and test this one first. No problem. That's 3. And I'm not surprised that that passes. So that one's good. The Echo, pretty good. I'm going to try to go out all the way to the tip of the blade. I probably should have been doing that. So you could maybe argue that I needed to do this from the beginning. That's pretty good. I'm going to go back and actually try a couple of them. Nope. Nothing on that one, so all of those are good. Here's another Echo. We'll assume that that's the same. The XL Pyrite, which is coming out soon. Same shelf design. Still good. We'll go one more on this one. Ooh, ow. Felt that in my soul. All right, that one's good too. Now the standard pyrite. No. 2, 3. Okay, now for good measure, let's go ahead and go to the Hogue Deka. Now, I've actually seen somebody baton with this, so I'm not particularly worried. 2, 3. Okay, good. Now we'll talk about, this is called the grind. It's actually a beautiful Scandi ground crossbar lock from Vosteed. Very, very comfortable. I haven't talked about this, but it is a really cool knife. Oh, okay, wait a second. All right, let's try that again. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, guys. Okay, this is why we have to test these things. So that is a failure. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to also pull up, this is the Bestech Ronin? Is it Rowan? It's not a Ronin. I got that wrong when I named it. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and test this one. Solid. 2, 3, no problem. Okay, well that is a big surprise. Okay, so far there are a couple knives that are concerns. We're going to go back to the raccoon for just a second. I want to come out and probably hit it just around the end of the blade. Let me flip it out properly. Okay, that's good. 2, 3. Okay, so no problems there. Now, let's go to the cubit, which is the one that a lot of people were concerned with. I'm going to hit this again and try to get it closer to the edge this time than I did before. Now, I hit it pretty hard, but I want to get it really at the point that's going to give it the most leverage. 1, 2, and 3. Nice and solid. Okay, so that one's good. While we're at it, let's do the Altus. 1. That actually shifted in my hand. I hit that so hard. 2. And 3. That one was nice and hard. So, pass. So, I am sorry to say, and I did not expect this, so this is a very useful video. It appears that the shelf on the back of the grind may actually be a little bit too short. Now, this is not something that's uncommon with crossbar locks. It's not. In fact, you know what? Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull out a couple more knives. Okay, so I was looking for the Ganzo crossbar locks, but I'm going to have to settle for this one. We'll see if this can also survive that test for the same reason. And it does. 2. And a failure on the third one. Okay, let's try it again. Maybe an inconclusive one here. All right, well, that was one failure, but it could be maybe I didn't lock it all the way up. I don't know, hard to say. So inconclusive was the result. Failures on this one. But then all of these, hold on, I'll bring them back in. All of these passed. So interesting, to say the least. It is possible, very possible, that tolerances could have a, I don't know if tolerances or fitment, there's different terminology, and I'm sure I use it incorrectly. I think it's quite possible that that it could vary from knife to knife. But I feel relatively confident in saying that the design for the button lock for the CJRB specifically has sort of like a fail-safe to it because of the cutout, because of the design, and how this is not a good example. I can't see anything. All right, so because it has a 90-degree shelf that really encapsulates the button. See if we can get it in there. You can really see it's set in there. I think that this is probably a little bit more secure as a button lock than any of the others, but we didn't have a failure in any of the Civivi knives, even the one that I really expected to fail, which was the low spring tension on the Cogent. So really, really interesting test. Oh, and of course the Raccoon, they have nailed this detent, and we don't have any issues with that one. So not what I expected to be the results, I'll be honest. I did not see the grind being a failure. It's just a small tang adjustment, so hopefully they will fix that. And it's also worth noting that there are much bigger brands than Vosteed that had this problem. I had the exact same issue with the Adamas, one of the most quote-unquote tough knives by Benchmade. So based on how they responded with the Raccoon, I hope they do the same with the Corgi and the Grind. But what an interesting test this was. Let me know. Is this something that was of value to you? And do you understand the difference between hitting it multiple times, right, and causing a failure, and hitting it hard one time? Anyway, that's it for today. That's all we're going to do. We're just testing these knives. I learned something. I hope you did too. And as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. We'll talk again soon.